Good morning, friends. I'm Stacy and this is Gorgeously Aging. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are brand new, a special welcome. And if you've been with me for a while, sending you all virtual hugs. You guys, today we are talking about the Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette. This is a really innovative, unique product in the marketplace. I've never seen anything like it. It has 10 pans and 20 colors. 10 of them are a soft pomade. You can see where I was dipping into them. It's a velvet pomade. And the others are powders. These can be used on the entire face, brows, eyeshadow, cheeks, contour, lips, which I have done today. I was really skeptical on how this can work on the entire face, but you can see I pulled off a full face look using this palette, and I'll explain the pros and cons in this video. If you want to see how this performs and some of the unique features of this palette, keep on watching. You guys have probably heard me mention that I am absolutely in love with Danessa Myricks recently. I've been collecting some of her products over the past year, testing them, and I want to do a full review of all the Danessa Myricks products that I have. But today we're talking about the new Danessa Myricks Groundwork palette. This is a one-of-a-kind palette. There is nothing on the market quite like this, and let me tell you why. So this can be used on the entire face. You can use it for your brows, your face, your eyeshadow, your lips. You can use it for contour. It has a really unique formula. The larger pans are a velvety pomade type formula, and the smaller pans are a powder formula that contain Upsolite that are oil absorbing. Now, Upsolite is a product that Danessa Myricks uses in many of her products, and it's meant to control oil. So I was concerned about whether or not this palette would be a good one for mature skin, or if it's primarily targeted toward a younger audience or those with oily skin. Now, looking at the reviews on Sephora, it has an absolutely perfect score, 5 out of 5 stars with 798 reviews. This was released about a month ago, so it is a relatively new product. The price on this one is $65, which is a bit pricey for a palette, but because this is a palette that can be used all over the face, including the eyebrows, lips, contour, eyeshadow, my feeling is that if this works well on mature skin, it's a good value. I haven't had a chance to play with this at all, so this will be a first impressions video, but also a final thoughts video. So the only thing I have on my skin today is tinted sunscreen, and my brows have healed from microblading. If you haven't seen that video, I did a DIY microblading video. I will link that in the description box below. So I am happy with the results. They have softened up, settled down, and the flaking on my eyebrows has completely stopped. But it does take a full month of healing. I'm about a week and a half out, but I'm really happy with them. My old microblading was super faded, so it was much needed. So let's jump into this beautiful palette and see what we can do with this. Right off the top of my head, the first thing I'm going to say is that if we're going to use this for the face and contour, we're going to have to use smaller brushes. This color Chiseled, it looks like it'll be a good contouring or shadow colored. It's cooler, it almost looks gray, but let's see how it performs. So I'm going to go into the larger pan, which is that velvet pomade, and let me just show you on my finger. It kind of feels, it's nice and soft. It kind of feels like a cross between a cream and a powder. So I'm going to go in and just pick up a little bit of that on this brush here. This is an Eco Tools brush. I believe it's the diffused blush. And I'm just going to give a little contour. It blends in without any problems at all. Let's see if we need a little bit more of that. I'm being kind of light-handed. I didn't know how pigmented it is. Okay, so far it's such an interesting formula. So far I like it. Now if you want a denser application, use a less diffused brush. So let me just try it on something that's a little denser. And then just stamp it on, depending on how much. Oh yeah, see, now a lot of that is brush. If you have a diffused brush, it's not going to be as obvious. It's going to be a nice light wash of contour. And if you want something a little bit more obvious, a stamping motion with a denser brush will do the trick. I'm going to go back to the diffused brush in that same chiseled color here and just go across my jawline. I'm actually kind of impressed with this. I didn't expect the formula to be quite like this. I wasn't sure what I expected, but it is relatively soft. You can see in this chiseled formula that I pushed my finger in and it dented. So it is a nice soft formula. Blends in well. I'm just going to do a little bit around my hairline here. I mean, it's effortless blending, so this formula, it doesn't look patchy. It goes on really nicely. I almost thought with this kind of pomade-y type of formula that it might take a little work to blend, but it really doesn't. I'm going to take a brush shaped like this. This one, I believe, yeah, this is a Laura Mercier brush, but it's a little denser, but good for a nose contour. I'm going to go into that same chiseled pomade, just work on a little contour here. The way these blend, I think it definitely makes it a little easier to do things like a nose contour where if they're not blended right, they look really obvious or too stark. And if you're not an eyeshadow wearer, but you do want to kind of lift the eyes a little bit, you could take that same chiseled color and just go above the natural lid or natural crease and just tap some of that in so it's really subtle. So that's with a little bit of that above the natural crease, and that's without. I don't know if that's picking up on camera. It's very subtle, but if you're not an eyeshadow wearer, it can just give you a little bit of definition to the eyes. Now I'm going to try this color for a little bit of under eye brightening. This is called Sandstone, and I'm just going to go in with a dense brush into the Velvet Pomade and just give a little bit of brightening in the inner corner and under the eye. Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference. It definitely brightens, and you can use it to define if you want to lift that outer crease of the eye or the outer wing of the eye. A more diffused brush would just give a softer look, so definitely keep in mind that brush density matters. If you want a really light bit of under eye brightening, a softer, more diffused brush would be better. And if you want something a little bit more impactful, using a denser brush to get more product in that area is nice. I'm going to take a little bit of this on the tip of my nose and down the center of my nose. There's a couple shades for brow defining that I think are nice. The shade Desert I think is beautiful for somebody who is medium to light, and the shade Bark for somebody who is medium to dark for a brow defining color or pomade. And then you can set it down with that powder. We also have Sculpted, so that's an option for somebody who's maybe in the middle. I think that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try the Sculpted. I'm going to start with the pomade, and I'm just going to, I don't really need this because of my recent microblading, but I just want to see how this performs. Yeah, it's so easy to apply. It just goes on, glides on effortlessly. This makes really quick work of doing the brows. Again, this is that larger pan, the pomade side. Yeah, that's pretty. I like that. And then just to try the powder, I'm going to go into the Sculpted powder, the smaller pan, and just kind of set that in with a little bit of powder. I'm going to go in with the color Core and use that as a bronzer in that larger pomade pan with a diffused brush. This Eco Tools blush brush is a nice size for this larger pan on this palette. It kind of fits in there just perfectly. Just to give a little bit of warmth above that cool contour. I think the disadvantage is that it's going to take a little longer using a smaller brush than using a big brush, but you can't really dip a big brush into these small pans. I'm going to use the color Harvest, which has some warmth to it for a blush. And I'm just going to wipe off the same brush, and let me show you Harvest. So that's what it looks like, a little warm, deep, rusty color. And just give a little bit of flush to the cheeks. So this will be more of a monochromatic look, which I personally really like in the fall. So I think I'm going to use on the eyes these three colors here. I'm going to start out with Core and just add some of that above the natural crease. I like warmer colors in the fall. Well, I like warmer colors year round, but I do also like cool colors. But I just feel like these warm colors are so fall appropriate. This goes on with almost no work to blend them. It's a really unique formula. It's not a powder, it's not a cream, it's really in between, it's soft. I'm definitely impressed on how it applies, how easy it is to blend. I'm going to move up to the Harvest. The true test is going to be to see what it does for the lips, because it's hard to imagine this type of formula on aging lips, but we'll see. So I'm just going to deepen it up a little, especially in the outer corner with that color called Harvest. And then I'm going to take Harvest on more of a flat brush like this. This one is, I don't even know the brand of this brush. I've had it forever. I think it came in an Amazon set that was really cheap, but I like the shape of this. If I can find the link for it, I will add it to the description box below. Definitely a beautiful formula, the Velvety Pomade for a soft wing eyeliner. I'm going to go into the darker color Bark with an angled brush. Actually, I'm going to use this angled brush. And let's just see what we can do here with defining the upper lash line. It's nice. It goes on easy and it's not too harsh. Really pretty formula, especially if you have unsteady or shaky hands, for giving a little definition, soft definition to the eyeliner area. I'm going to take a little bit of that Bark in the lower corner. And I'm going to take the color Mirage on a flat brush in the pomade and just get a little bit of that on my movable lid. Now, if you like shimmers, this palette lacks the shimmers, but it is still a really versatile palette. I'm going to take the powder from this one, the smaller one here, on a small brush and just get a little bit of that brightening powder on the inner corner. I'm going to pop on some lashes. I'll be right back and we'll move on to the lips. So I'm going to go into Harvest with a small precision brush and use it on my lips. I'm using that pomade formula. It actually glides on really well. I'm kind of surprised by this. I have super dry lips, so I don't know if this formula is going to give me enough hydration. I'll probably top it with something else more hydrating. I'm actually really surprised how well this goes on the lips. I had zero expectation that this was going to be useful at all on the lips. Let's see how it works to fill them in a little bit. And if you want it more sheer, a lighter wash of color, or layer it out for something more rich, I'm going to go over it with this YSL lipstick. This is so beautiful. Let's see how this looks over top. Just to give me a little hydration, I'll list everything down in the description box below. I do want to see how that black pomade works, just to give me a little bit more richness in the upper lash line. And of course, there's always the corresponding powders to set it in, or if you want something softer than the pomade. I'm just really curious about this pomade because it's like such a innovative new type of formula. I certainly didn't need that black, but it does go on really pigmented. It's nice. I could see adding the black for a nighttime look, which I like to kind of make things a little more glamorous if I'm going out for dinner or something. Of course, that's all personal preference. It's definitely super easy to work with. This is something that's really surprising me and impressing me about this palette. There are a few pros and cons, and I'll share them with you in just a minute. Just for curiosity, because I use the pomades on the eyes, I want to go in with a few of the powders just to see how they go over the top of the pomade. I'm going to use these same 3 powders that I had used on the eyes. I used the pomades. You can see where I was digging into them. They're nice and soft. And I'm going to use the powder over top just to see how they perform. So the powders are not dusty at all. A lot of eyeshadow powders, sometimes the low quality ones, are dusty when you dip your brush in. We're not having that at all with this formula. If you want to like deepen the intensity of the colors, I think going over the pomade with the powder is wonderful. Or if you're going out at night, adding a bit more with the powders is great. I go into that richer color here. Yeah, these are beautiful. These are really easy to work with. This is the color Harvest. This is the one I also used on my cheeks. It has a little warmth to it. It's like a brownie color with a bit of warmth, almost like a deep rust. Yeah, that's super pretty. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the Bark powder and just in the outer corner. These don't look patchy at all, which I love for the eyes, especially as I'm getting older and I don't see as well. I'm just gonna take a bigger fluffy brush. Yeah, that's so easy. It's so easy. So here again is the palette. Let's talk about the pros and cons. So I think this being mostly neutrals, you're not going to have any bright pinks or any colors like that for the cheeks, but I don't mind that, especially in fall and winter. I like a monochromatic nude look that has mostly neutrals. I really like this chiseled color for the contour. It is subtle and blends in well without being overpowering. It's wonderful on the nose. I think the pomade formulas are beautiful. One of the concerns I would have is this formula meant for less mature or more normal to oily skin, being that that Upsolite is meant to absorb oil. My first impression is that it's beautiful. I do think my skin right now looks a little bit more mattified than it normally would if I used a cream base. I only used my tinted sunscreen, so maybe if I used a cream foundation first and then did some of the contouring and the blush, I would feel a little less mattified. This is said to be long wearing, so that's a big plus if you like a good long wearing makeup. I love that you can do everything with this palette: contour, blush, lips, brows, and eyeshadow, eyeliner. It's a good value if you're going to use it for all of those things. I feel like I will definitely recreate this look. I'm not sold using it on the lips, but it did go on super nice. If your lips are a little dry and cracked, this may accentuate that, but if you have younger lips that aren't dry, cracked, or have texture, this is beautiful on the lips. For me, going over it with some type of balm or hydrating lip product was a necessity because my lips are dry and they're aged. So I do need to have something over top that's going to lock in some moisture. I probably wouldn't use this pomade again as an under eye brightener or concealer, simply because on mature skin there are better options. But it's not bad, and I think the powdered set in some kind of hydrating concealer would be a good option. Overall, I think you have a lot of versatility with this palette, and this is kind of a game changer in terms of having that soft pomade that's not really a cream and not really a powder. It's a really unique formula. Okay, there, I feel better with my hair done. So you guys, overall, I think this is a good investment. For $65, you have a lot of versatility. The pomade, the Velvet Pomade formula, is spectacular. I'm not so sure on aging skin this is great for under the eyes or even on the lips if you have crepiness or texture on your lips or dryness, but if your lips are not dry or textured, it's beautiful. It's actually great for a lip liner and it goes on smoothly. I do think for the aging lip, going over it with a little bit of balm or hydrating lipstick is so important. I think the pomade and powder on the brows is so easy, blends in beautifully, and gives just the right amount of definition without being overpowering. And I absolutely love both the combination of the pomade and the powder for eyeshadow. Let me know in the comments if you've tried anything by Danessa Myricks and what your thoughts are. I really think she's doing a great job at being innovative and coming out with some things that are versatile and really creative in the marketplace. So many of her products are really unique, high-performing, long-wearing, and affordable. For a higher end brand, I think she does a really good job at quality in the packaging, quality in the products, but not overpricing. Danessa Myricks has definitely been on my radar, and I'm really excited to see what's to come. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, I would love for you to join the Gorgeously Aging community by subscribing to my channel. You guys know what I always say, be good to yourselves and to others.